Trump just scored his biggest global victory, and it might prove everything his critics feared. Stick with me. By the end, you'll see why this triumph could harden his worst instincts instead of softening them. I need to talk about something that's been bothering me since Monday. Donald Trump brokered a Gaza ceasefire. 20 Israeli hostages came home alive. World leaders flew to Egypt to stand beside him. Israel's parliament gave him a hero's welcome. And for once, the spin matched reality. America looked powerful again. It's the kind of legacy-defining win that could reshape a presidency. But here's the tension I want you to hold. Will this success make Trump a better leader at home? Or will it convince him that breaking every rule is the only rule that matters? Let me walk you through what happened, what it means for your daily life, and why the answer to that question might define the next 4 years. According to the news notes, Trump spent Monday basking in universal adulation in Israel that he never receives stateside. He appeared in Egypt with world leaders, many of whom reject his America First populism, but still dropped everything to rush to his side. The ceasefire deal saw 20 Israeli hostages return home. Trump declared, "The war in Gaza is over." So what does a Middle East ceasefire have to do with your wallet, your rights, or the government shutdown happening right now? More than you'd think. Trump's team is already spinning this as proof that his approach, gut instinct over expertise, real estate moguls over diplomats, unpredictability over protocol, works. If that logic holds, it gives him permission to double down on chaos everywhere else. Trade wars that spike your grocery bills, executive orders that bypass Congress, firing federal workers who protect your food and water. The ceasefire isn't just about Gaza, it's about whether Trump believes he's now untouchable. Let's look at the story's spine. The character, Donald Trump, a president who spent 2 terms shredding diplomatic playbooks. He moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. He ordered the strike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad in 2020. Early in his second term, he ordered strikes on Iran's nuclear program. According to the notes, none of these big risks ignited violence and reprisals for the United States on the scale that many experts had always predicted. The conflict, for months, Trump's efforts to end the Gaza and Ukraine wars suffered from a common deficiency: his failure to match peace plans and photo-op meetings with top leaders with meaningful pressure. Then, after an Israeli strike in Qatar against Hamas negotiators last month, Trump significantly hardened his tone toward Netanyahu, unveiling his 20-point peace plan in conjunction with Arab states and boxing the Israeli leader into accepting it. The choice: Trump could have kept playing nice with Netanyahu, his closest ally. Instead, he applied real leverage. The consequence: the deal happened. Israel agreed. Hamas softened. Hostages came home. Now, let me give you the receipts. According to the notes, Trump's negotiator, Steve Witkoff, a fellow real estate tycoon, and son-in-law Jared Kushner, also a real estate magnate, were decisive in closing the deal. Trump's 20-point peace plan calls for an international peace force for Gaza, for Hamas to give up its weapons and its grip on Gaza, and for a global coalition of Arab states and others to rebuild the devastated Gaza Strip. The blueprint even hints at the possibility of a Palestinian state, a condition Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu opposes. Trump lavished praise on regional leaders who made it happen: Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Qatar's leadership, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He told the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, to pardon Netanyahu, who faces allegations of taking gifts from overseas businessmen. Trump's response? Cigars and champagne, who the hell cares? And here's a telling quote from Egypt. Trump said, I like the tough people better than I like the soft, easy ones. I don't know what the hell that is. That's a personality problem, I suspect. Hold that thought. We'll come back to what that personality problem means for you. Now, let's deal with the counter-arguments. Pushback 1. Why didn't Trump intervene earlier and save tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians killed after the October 7, 2023 attacks? Fair question. The notes don't give us Trump's answer, but we can infer the logic. He waited until he had maximum leverage. Critics would say that's cold. Supporters would say it's strategic. Either way, the human cost was staggering, and Trump's plan still leaves out offering Palestinians a true say in their own future. Pushback 2. Maybe European nations that recently recognized a Palestinian state deserve credit for isolating Israel and pressuring Netanyahu, not Trump. Possibly. But Trump can argue that his direct pressure, backed by Arab allies and a 20-point plan, sealed the deal. Isolation alone doesn't close negotiations. Leverage does. Here's where the receipts clarify. Trump's approach trashed many conventional State Department approaches and adopted a shoot-first-and-ask-questions-later approach more typical of right-wing Israeli Likud leaders like Netanyahu. That created a bond with Israelis that Trump turned into political leverage he could use to pressure Netanyahu when the time was right. So the counter-arguments don't collapse the story. They complicate it. Now let's talk values. Democratic values, rule of law, dignified work, pluralism, competent government, depend on systems and restraint. Trump's success came from relationships with autocrats, not democratic allies. El-Sisi, accused of human rights abuses. Qatar's leaders, who obliterated the concept of presidential ethics by gifting him a jumbo jet he plans to use as Air Force One. Erdogan and Mohammed bin Salman, both known for oppression, imprisoning opponents, and suppressing free expression. Trump praised El-Sisi for low crime rates in Egypt because they don't play games, contrasting that with governors that have no idea what they're doing in the United States. Translation: he envies leaders who face no legal checks, no free press, no independent courts. And that's the contrast. Democrats believe competent government protects your rights even when you disagree with the president. Trump believes efficiency comes from crushing constraints. The Gaza win validates his worldview, and that should worry anyone who depends on working institutions. What happens next? The notes identify three big watchwords. 1. Will Trump stay engaged after the big splash? His 20-point plan requires Trump's constant attention for the rest of his term. The notes say, Trump is no details man. If he loses interest, the deal collapses. 2. Does the deal become more than a snatched moment of hope in the Middle East's tortured history? Or is the war in Gaza is over just typical Trump hyperbole? 3. Will vital issues like Palestinian self-determination derail his big win? The notes remind us, Trump is far from the first American statesman to herald the historic dawn of a new Middle East. But the failure to end the Palestinian question has produced endless false dawns. On Ukraine, the notes suggest Trump might now apply similar duress on Russian President Vladimir Putin, who escalated his brutal attacks on Ukrainian civilians despite Trump's summit invite to Alaska. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is headed to Washington on Friday amid talk the U.S. might provide Tomahawk cruise missiles to Kyiv. Now for predictions. Scenario 1. More likely than not, Trump concludes from the Gaza win that chaos works. He doubles down at home. More firings, more executive power, more disdain for legal guardrails. According to the notes, there were signs that Trump has concluded from his big win that he needs to be even less cognizant of the rule of law than he already has been. Scenario 2, possible but less likely, Trump tastes global respect and wants more, so he tempers his vitriolic leadership style to win affirmation at home. The notes call this unlikely. Scenario 3, plausible. Trump's deal-making instinct complicates life for Speaker Mike Johnson, whose warning of one of the longest shutdowns in American history. Trump eradicated one of the GOP's pressure points against Democrats by finding a workaround to ensure that military personnel will not miss paychecks after the government shutdown. He's seemed more open to the idea of talking to Democrats about extending Affordable Care Act subsidies than some of his party's congressional leaders. Maybe he cuts a deal to end the shutdown, maybe he doesn't. But his Gaza success gives him leverage over his own party. I'm labeling all of this speculation, but it's grounded in the note's evidence. Remember that personality problem I asked you to hold? Here's the payoff. Trump told a reporter on Air Force One Sunday night, "I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. I think I'm not maybe heaven-bound." He was joking about whether the ceasefire would ease his path into eternal bliss. But the honesty is revealing. Trump doesn't want to change. The notes conclude, Trump's Middle East triumph is the kind of legacy win that can change presidents, but his reverence for unconstrained power and his envy of leaders immune from legal and political constraints explain why it probably won't. After all, he really doesn't want to change. So what can you do? Track 3 things. 1. Does Trump stay engaged on Gaza implementation, or does he move on? 2. Does he apply real pressure to Putin, or does he fold? 3. Does he use this win to demand loyalty from Congress, or to actually negotiate? You don't have to march. You don't have to call anyone. Just notice. Ask your representatives. If chaos works abroad, does that justify chaos at home? Watch whether Trump's success makes him a statesman or a strongman. Here's my kicker. Trump just proved that breaking the rules can work if you're powerful enough. The question isn't whether the Gaza deal is good, it is. The question is whether that success teaches him to respect constraints or to obliterate them. Now I want to hear from you. Who should make the next move? Trump, Netanyahu, Congress, or someone else? And why? Drop your answer in the comments. If this breakdown helped you see the stakes more clearly, subscribe for more fact-first analysis that connects the headlines to your life.